Those of you online, we had a little miscue again, but we have called to order and we're going to go through our roll call. Ann, can you hear us, Ann Malik? And Stacy Laundry, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Say present, please.
I'm present.
In case it's not you. All right, I think we're caught up.
I think Ann's trying to get on.
Ann, can you hear me?
She's muted, so even if she's responding, we're not hearing it.
Do we have a control for her microphone?
So that it'll trigger a pop-up for her. We've sent a thing to her to ask her to unmute.
Okay. We can continue. Oh, what the heck? She looks tiny, whatever that background is.
Christine, present. Ivan Rucker. Daniel Koenig. Mitch Huber. Wood Hudson. Julia Monteith.
Here.
Mike Murphy.
Representing.
Sarah Medley.
I'm present.
Garland Williams.
Present.
Is that everyone? Thank you. Looks like Ann is out and logging back in. We'll proceed as we have a quorum. All right, next item of business, I'd like to introduce that we have a new policy board member joining us for the first time and new city council member. So welcome, Jen Fleischer. I would certainly like to give you a... Well, now it's official.
I've always wanted one of these.
Oh
Yeah, Lucinda can donate hers. Yes, thank you. I feel real. I feel seen. Okay.
I would certainly, if you would like the opportunity to say a few words of intro, by all means.
Just thank you for having me, and I'm excited to be a part of this group. Having attended a lot of RTP meetings and been involved in transportation as a mode to better health for the district, it's an honor to sit and be part of those decisions now too.
Awesome, thank you. The next item, we will move to matters from the public. Do we have members here who wish to speak under matters from the public?
I do.
All right, we have one. Do we have any others?
Do I go
We
up there?
have, hold on, we have two. Is there anyone online who wishes to speak? Mr. Condor is 3. All right. Yes, sir, you can come up to the podium. You have 3 minutes once you begin. Thank you.
Never been up here before. My name is Paul Grady. I live just outside of Crozet. I missed the city council meeting at the beginning of the month, so my comments are directed to the 2 city councilors. This is about the intersection at Ridge, McIntyre Ridge, West Main, Water Street, South Street. I've been an advocate for a roundabout there for many years. But the design that was presented at the last public information meeting was so horrible. It had to have been designed by some deranged transportation planner who thinks that making Water Street one way again is a good idea. It's not. In fact, it's dumb as a post. It seems like over the last 10 years or so, transportation planning in Charlottesville has leaned heavily toward pedestrian and bicycle at the expense of drivers. I'll give you a good example. The intersection at Harris Street and McIntyre Road used to have 2 right turn lanes, but now they don't. Now it doesn't. Think of how much gas is wasted by people sitting there waiting to make a right turn. And Charlottesville calls itself a green city. I'm not sure. So as far as I'm concerned, any improvements to the Ridge McIntyre, Ridge, West Main, blah, 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 intersection that doesn't include a roundabout is just putting lipstick on a pig. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Krebs?
Good afternoon, I'm Peter Krebs from the Piedmont Environmental Council. I'm here to invite everybody to attend next week's Active Mobility Summit. That's March 5th and 6th at the Wool Factory. There are two sessions, both of which are full of content, both of which are good. They build on each other, but it's not necessary to attend both. Recommended but not required. Thursday night will feature our keynote speaker, Pete Eshelman from outside Roanoke, who will talk about the city of Roanoke and surrounding regions' approach to economic development, which focuses on connectivity and access to the outdoors. We're going to award a community champion who's a rising star in the community. I think this individual might be on this dais one day. I'm super excited to share that, but it's a secret. And there'll be lots of fellowship and inspiration and networking. Then we'll be back together on Friday morning for a couple of panels. One panel will be about solutions from across Virginia. So for example, we'll hear about what's happening in Harrisonburg. And then we're going to have another panel that's about local solutions, and that's going to include local leaders. So Julia will be on that panel, Ann Wall will be there, James Breeze, and in addition, a real hero of mine named Zach Roberts. He's the person who runs the Great Outdoors Provision Company here in Charlottesville. And then we will also have collaborative work sessions, and we have another secret surprise guest for Friday morning. So we'll announce that next week, but I'm super excited. I invite everybody to sign up. It's free. There'll be food, drink, and fellowship. You can learn more by going to pecva.org/mobility summit. And I have flyers, which I'll leave on the counter. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. All right, Mr. Condor.
Hello. My comment concerns the very last entry or very last line on the very last page of the packet, which is the Interstate 64 exit 118 improvements. The VDOT hired a consultant that came up with 3 alternatives, which range from not very good to terrible. I see they have TBD as far as what the concept is. I just want to make you aware, I did submit a concept that basically had a weave area greater than 3/4 or greater than 1/4 of a mile. The original design of the interchange had a weave area for traffic entering eastbound I-64 from southbound US 29 to the exit for eastbound I-64 to northbound US 29 of less than 400 feet, which was insufficient time for the traffic entering the highway to accelerate to the 65 to 75 mile an hour speed of the traffic to be able to merge to the left, causing traffic that wanted to exit the highway to have to practically stop to avoid collision with the vehicles that are entering. A 1/4 mile merge area, however, especially on a downhill, would give ample time for the traffic to accelerate, that's entering to accelerate and match the speed of the traffic on I-64 so they can easily merge to the left. Meanwhile, the traffic that wants to exit onto US 29 North would have plenty of opportunity to move to the right without having to decelerate prematurely. That I've submitted that design to VDOT, but I just wanted you all to be aware of it so that as you continue to consider alternatives there that you at least give some thought to mine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Condor. Is there anyone else who wishes to give public comment online or in person? Can't see all of the hands online. Are they all?
No, we don't have any more hands.
I don't know if there were more windows up there somewhere in the. All right. Okay, we will close matters from the public and move to item number 3. So the first item is review and acceptance of the agenda. Are there any? Yes,
Sorry to interrupt. Sure. Can we check and see if Ms. Malik is present and we can vote her in if she is?
I don't think she is present.
So
don't see her.
she's back in the meeting. Can you hear us, Ann?
Supervisor Malik, are you able to hear us?
And she's unmuted.
Showing that she's on using her phone, but we're not getting a response.
Can you go to the gallery view? Is that all the people online? Because I'm not seeing her.
No, there's another page full.
Oh, there it is, the blue arrow. Ann, can you hear us, please? Someone might need to call her offline.
We can come back.
Thank you. But once we get her connected, we can roll her in. All right, so for the agenda, any changes or additions to the agenda? All right, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
There's already coming. Second made. So first and second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The next item is the approval of the draft December 17, 2025 meeting minutes. Any corrections, edits may need to be made to those minutes? All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
I'll go ahead. Yep, you want to
I'll
second?
second.
You might need to abstain there, Ms. Wood, yeah. All right, the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? You're abstaining?
Oh, I'm staying.
All right, and item number C, election of officers. This would be the chair and the vice chair. Myself, I've been the chair. Ostrin's been the vice chair. Do we want to, it's either do we can continue with those from the Albemarle side, whether I'm chair or vice chair, I'll stay in one of those roles. And then what you all described. So I'll let you guys speak about what you feel about that.
We would like to keep things as is.
So we'll continue with myself as chair and Natalie as vice chair. Is there we can do that both at the same time. Is there a motion for that?
Yes.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. That's Ned as chair, Natalie as vice chair. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Great. We will continue on. And then number 4, we move to new business. And item A is travel, and these first 3 are all action items. Travel demand model 2050 demographics. And is there an introduction first? I'll look to Taylor.
Yes, so we've got members from our project team from VDOT and from AECom who are supporting our model update for this year. So they're going to give a presentation on the 2050 demographic forecast that includes population and employment. And so these have to be approved today before they can proceed to the next steps of the model process. So I'll invite them to go ahead and unmute and share their screen.
I'm sorry, I was speaking on you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nak Kashai from AECom. I'm involved with the travel demand forecasting aspect of this project. So we are involved right now in the upgrading of the Charlottesville model. So as part of which the base year has been upgraded to 2022 and the future year of 2050. We have completed the 2022 upgradation of the demographics, and in August of the last year, we did present it to the committee here. And right now we are in the process of updating the demographics for 2050. After the 2022 demographics were updated, we used that and grew it to the 2050 using the county level forecast. So these list the sources that we have used, which include the Weldon Cooper 2050 population forecast and Woodson Pool 2050 socio-demographic forecasts. And for the city of Charlottesville, the city provided us the employment and the population estimates. That's what is included in the model. And the city, Albemarle County reviewed the 2050 and they suggested some changes. And the current data set includes the suggested changes. So this table here shows the population comparison between 22 and 2050 and also compares that with the Weldon Cooper data. So this shows that the growth is in line with the Weldon Cooper trends. And a point to note that the model area includes the city of Charlottesville and portions of the Albemarle County and portions of the Greene, Louisa, and Fluvanna counties. So the table here shows the different variables and how they compare between 22 and 50. And in general, they all show healthy growth. This is the district definition that's being used in the model to compare some summaries. And also a point to note here is that these boundaries are just for the modeling purpose and they do not reflect the actual MPO boundaries. This has a comparison of the 22 and 2050 population employment by the district. And in general, looks like the north of Charlottesville district shows the most increase in the population and employment. This on the following slide shows some spatial distribution of the population, employment, and the household population for the new 2050. This shows the TAC level household distribution, the household population for the 2050. This is the employment for the 2050, the modeling area. This shows a change in population between 2050 and 2022. This graphic here shows the changes in employment, proposed changes in employment between 2050 and 22. This graphic shows here the 2050 network that's proposed to be used in the model. The same network by the facility type. And the number of lanes. So after the update, we hope that the model would serve as a tool to analyze different projects in the area and help get an understanding of how the network would react to the proposed projects, and as a measure to measure some metrics such as the congestion and help develop some maps which shows the level of service in the area, transit ridership, and the mode shares in the area, and also help as a tool to estimate VMT per capita and average driving commute times in the area. Yeah, so this is where we are and the summaries of the 2050.
All right, ready for questions? That is a yes. I invite policy board members to ask any questions.
What are you looking for from us?
So today we need approval on the 2050 demographic forecast. So the numbers that they went through for employment and population, those have to be formally approved by the policy board before we can proceed with using them as inputs in our model.
Got it. Okay.
I have questions. Do you have more questions?
No, please go
Okay.
ahead.
So what, for the UVA projected numbers, does that include UVA Health as well as the academic sites? It says Darden on there, but it doesn't say UVA Health or med school.
I believe it includes both. That was the targets provided by the UVA.
Okay, so
Get that?
both?
Does
Okay.
it include both? Can you repeat the answer, please, just to make sure that we got it?
I believe that includes both the health and the university, because that's the total provided by the UVA.
Okay. And then were there any assumptions made about remote work in the employment model?
I don't think so. That's the total. I mean, the way it was developed is the Woodson pool data. They projected that this is the total employment that's going to be in this future year, and that's the target we used. So the model does not have an attribute for remote employment as one of the employment categories. So to answer the question, it does not include any specific category.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
That's all I have.
On the data development and model input updates chart, there's two lines, college university enrollment and university enrollment. They're off by one number. Are they the same? Are they different? And if they are different, how so? There's UnivPop and UniVinner.
Yeah, so we do not have the separate information for the university enrollment. So we have used the same population, but when we distributed it, that I think that's a rounding error that you see that one extra thing. But the target, we only have the information for the total university population / enrollment. We do not have any extra or rather as a different source. So the one difference we see is due to the rounding, but otherwise, yeah, it's the same.
And for the college and university enrollment numbers, you said that they were sourced from UVA, UVA enrollment, UVA provided data and trending for enrollment and parking. Something that one of our colleagues has pointed out is that UVA grows an average of 1%. That's what they've been trending year over year. And if this chart is modeling only 9%, but historically it's been a 1% adjustment, but we are more than 9 years away from 2050. I wonder if that number was double checked on historic precedent, or was it just UVA says we're only going to grow 9% over the next several years, or if any accounting was done for if that like that, because that's a little different.
We have used just the targets provided by the UVA, and I also would like to mention here that the modeling area is not the same as the whole area, because the model only includes a portion of some of the counties. So that could have been the differences when you compare by area and then you take the whole and compare with the 2050. So the only information we have used it was what UVA has provided. We have not used any other sources.
That's kind of the only number that's jumping out to me. I mean, I understand there's assumptions here. If we underestimate that, it has kind of significant impact in a way that matters. I don't know what there's to be done about that, but that's just a point of concern.
Can I ask a clarifying?
Yeah.
That we should use different projections than what are provided by the university? Is that?
If their historical trend is 1% per year, and this is under doing that. Yeah. Or like, I mean, I don't know what the idea is of, like run both, run a 14% and a 9%, or the middle. I don't know. I just don't want to. I mean, who knows, right? These are all assumptions. So I just wanted to point out that if that is different than their historical trend, I wonder why. Are there decisions they're making about reaching a specific capacity, so they're tapering off or not?
There could be other environmental things at play too. Like I sat in on a presentation at, I think it was the State of the Community event on Friday with the chamber, where we heard a presentation from a Weldon Cooper staff member that talked about declining college enrollment overall because of just the age and the demographics of our overall population. So I could wonder if some of that
Fewer young
this as
people.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I have right now. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? All right, and we are, the action here is to adopt the travel demand model 2050 demographics. Another question, Papa?
Yes, sorry. Is there anything you would expect us to ask that we're not, since we're not collecting these numbers, we're not double checking the sources in advance?
No, I think these are all really great questions. MPO Tech Committee did provide a recommendation to approve these. So we worked with city staff, county staff to make sure everybody had an opportunity to get their eyes on it, suggest edits before this came before you today.
Great.
Thanks.
So we just need a motion to adopt the travel model 20, what did I say? Travel demand model 2050.
So moved.
Second.
All right. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. That model is approved. Thank you. I mean, I know that all of these will be used in a lot of the assumptions that ultimately gets down to projects, but when they actually get to tight projects, then there's a whole nother
Yes.
lever
Yes.
and model of modeling that
For
happens.
that project.
Very
Yeah.
high level.
Very, I was thinking, yes, it's way up here.
So the tightening happens when we get
Real.
down to it. All right, performance safety, is Goran here? Is he online?
Gorion will be presenting virtually today.
Goran, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, loud and clear. Just requested to share my screen. I believe the presentation has to be unshared. It's currently on before I can share my screen.
Sorry, trying to figure out how to stop this.
Thank you.
Now, is there a way that you could stop sharing?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. For some reason, I cannot. The button only shows me to. Oh, yeah. Or maybe I can leave and then come back that way.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Gorian Georgievsky. I serve as a regional transportation planner at the TJPDC. It's my pleasure to present to you this afternoon. In your packet are included this presentation, a staff memo, and a draft response letter to VDOT regarding the performance safety targets for 2026. This is a federally mandated process for the MPO. Tonight I'm seeking action from the board, which will be adoption of one of the options that are included in the presentation. When moving ahead for progress was into the 21st century, known as MAP 21, was enacted in 2012. it established a framework for national transportation performance goals. These goals were supported by Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act, which replaced MAP in 2015, and finally continued by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law in 2021. These national targets are set by the U.S. Secretary of Transportation and define the overarching safety objectives for the nation's transportation system. The targets filter down to the states, which develop their own safety targets, and finally MPOs, which are tasked with adopting targets in support of the statewide objectives. The primary reason we adopt safety targets is to comply with federal funding requirements. MPOs are not directly held accountable for meeting these targets. That responsibility lies with the state. Our targets are meant to assist the state in achieving its goals. Annually, we adopt our own targets to align with these efforts. The state provides us with valuable data and tools to help us determine our regional targets. And when I say the state, I mean VDOT. Historically, this MPO has adopted the state targets. However, in 2023, the MPO took a different approach and by adopting alternative targets. And in 2024 and 2025, the MPO adopted the aspirational targets that are aligned with the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan known as Move Safely Blue Ridge. The state provides data to illustrate safety trends, including recent and long-term projections. When we establish safety targets, we focus on 5 key metrics: the number of fatalities, the number of serious injuries, and their rates, and the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. Regardless of which targets the MPO policy or choose to adopt, we remain fully committed to improving safety for everyone who uses our transportation system. In some cases, the state level targets may show an increase in the number of fatalities and serious injuries. This is because the targets are data driven and reflect actual trends, which sometimes project increases. In those cases, the goal shifts to minimizing the rate of increase rather than achieving an immediate reduction. And this just underscores the importance of using this data to inform our strategies in the adoption. Another metric that we are looking at when we calculate these targets is the vehicle miles traveled, or VMT percentage for the MPO. This metric projects expected change in the VMT within the MPO for the year, and it's important because fluctuations in the VMT can directly influence the 5 key safety performance measures. For this year, based on a 5-year average of annual VMT values, excluding the COVID years, we anticipate that for this year is going to be 1.37 increase of VMT within the MPO. The state gave us several options for establishing the safety targets, which are right here on this slide. These options include the state targets, which are to the very right in red, which assume a negative 1.31 decrease or 1.31% decrease in the rates of fatalities and serious injuries, and a 0.96 decrease in the non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries from last year. Alternatively, the other options were to base our targets on regional trends, either recent or long-term trend lines. The recent trend lines showed a significant increase in fatalities and serious injuries, while the long-term trend line indicates a smaller increase in fatalities and a slight decrease in serious injuries. These differences highlight how short-term data can sometimes deviate from long-term patterns. Finally, the aspirational targets in orange, which are aligned with the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, and the statewide goal of reducing fatalities by 50% by 2045. This is approximately 2% annual reduction in the fatalities and serious injuries. This slide just highlights the differences between the what was adopted last year and this year. As you can see, there isn't a difference in the number of fatalities. However, there is a slight increase in the number of serious injuries, and that is because the rate has gone up not significantly enough make a big impact. Just as a reminder, there's one final round of Safe Streets and Roads for All. Since we are aligning our safety targets potentially with the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan, we're anticipating the NOFO to be released very soon with $1 billion available. And all applications will require a 20% non-federal match. Of course, projects have to be identified in the Safety Action Plan. So for our MPO, we have about 15 spot-specific improvements and many systemic improvements that are located on the high engineer network within the MPO. Before I take any questions, I do want to highlight the recommendation from the MPO Technical Committee, which recommend that the policy board adopt the aspirational safety targets for 2026 based on the discussion from their last meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Gurion. Questions, comments from the board?
I don't have any questions yet.
I have a question. Back to the chart on that's got the biggest chart that you showed. I guess page 3 of the presentation. It's got trend line information for 24, 25, and 26 with it's titled projected 5-year average based on a strict trend line. Does that take into account the actuals from 24 and 25, or are these the projections we had before we got to 24 and 25 and they're just noted here for reference to compare to 26?
Those are the actual from those years. Usually when we receive the data from VDOT, there's a lot more years into that data, but all of them are actuals.
So the table
other than 2026.
So 2026 is the projection, but 2024 and 2025 are the actual 5-year averages.
Yes, that is my understanding.
Okay, that's helpful. Do we have or do you happen to have on hand not the 5-year average, but the actual 2024 and just that alone and 2025 alone fatalities?
Not on hand, but I can probably get it by the end of the meeting and send an email out.
Okay. This is the annual time of the year where I'm frustrated that we don't project or aspire to 0. But I think if I think of it not as a target, but an expectation, a target feels like something we try to meet. An anticipated result is something that happens around us. And that is an easier way to comprehend that. Just so the public knows, we are not aspiring to 16 fatalities or 12, if that's what we would like to adopt in our aspirations. Okay, that's all I have. Thanks.
It'd probably be helpful to put in perspective too at some point how the projects that are brought forth in this region help to reduce these numbers and take a look back of where we were versus where we're at now to see how what we're doing is actually helping. Because a whole lot of these things, I mean, they could be just in the middle of nowhere. I mean, so, and some of the stuff you can't control also, some of the fate, because I look at it from a district perspective of all 9 counties. And the biggest thing I'm seeing as far as trends in the entire district of all 9, it's off the road crashes into fixed objects on secondary roadways. Meaning, and this body really isn't even looking at those areas, right? So I think it would help maybe if we can come back to this board at some point in time in the future to talk about the major projects that have come through the MPO board and how we've addressed some of the safety issues based on the numbers.
Perhaps.
All right, I'm going to pause here because I see Supervisor Malik is on and with a hand raised, and we need to vote you into the meeting. So we're going to do that first before you go. If you could please just state your location and reason for attending electronically.
I am back at my home, having had a doctor's appointment and was not able to get to the building. Thank you.
Thank you. And is there a motion to permit Supervisor Malik to participate electronically?
I move to permit Supervisor Malik to participate electronically.
Is there a second? Second. All right, motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you are now officially in the meeting, and please go ahead with your question.
Thank you very much, and thank you for welcoming me virtually. This particular topic has been so incomprehensible over so many years, but I know in the past we have often gone with the state recommendation just because we really didn't figure out a way that we could do anything else. And so I guess I'll just raise that again. I'm comfortable with the aspirational, or I'm comfortable with the state recommendation, because I don't know, other than sort of checking a federal box, I guess it allows us to perhaps apply for the grant, which might help us to accelerate some of our most high priority danger zones. And so for that purpose, if I'm interpreting that correctly, then that would be a reason to perhaps go with the aspirational. But perhaps Sean can explain whether I'm on target or not. Thank you.
Well, I think the three comments that I heard were all a lead up to endorsing, yes, we should have the recommendation or the information brought forward by Mr. Nelson. My own comment on the aspirational or the state targets, when we aligned it with Move Safely Blue Ridge, it finally, for me, gave me a purposeful and an intentional reason to go with the aspirational numbers versus the state numbers, because it matches that plan. So I would prefer the aspirational just to stay consistent with what we did in Move Safely Blue Ridge, which I don't know, kind of eliminates the whole, I mean, I get it, because that's for years the same thing, that regardless of who the members of the MPO have been, it's always been the same conversation. But until the Move Safely Blue Ridge, there wasn't really a point where we're like, oh, see, that gives the target, and let's stick with that for consistency purposes. All right, any other questions or comments about the presentation?
I have one question about the comparison of 25 to 26 with the, I don't know what page this is, 34. With the number of serious injuries, am I reading that right, that we're accepting a higher number as, or no? Yeah, what was adopted in 25, now in 26, the number we're adopting would be higher?
It's because you're looking at the 143 to the 145?
Yeah, so
with the percentages staying the same based on the trends, then yes, it would move up. Again, it's that piece where we're like, well, it's not like we're asking or we're going out there looking for two more.
Right. Because that's based on VMT, right?
Okay.
So two. Yeah,
okay.
Whatever percent of VMT, and the VMT is up 1.37 or whatever.
And that percentage reference. Okay, yeah. Thank you. Sorry.
I mean, that could be frankly the frustrating part about the statistic. You aim for the percentage, you might achieve it, but the actual the end might have gone up.
The end might have gone up, yes.
Which again brings us to the only solution being reduce car dependence, the number of VMT.
Right. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and design the necessary roads better as well, or which is where Sean comes in.
Any other questions or comments? All right, this is an action item. What are we adopting the performance safety targets, Christine, or are we accepting, or Taylor?
Adopting
the
aspirational performance safety targets.
Motion to adopt the aspirational performance safety targets.
Second.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Gorian.
Thank you.
This will take us to item C, the Citizens Transportation Advisory Committee. And Taylor, remind me, am I setting this up or are you setting this up?
I have one slide to share, but ultimately it'll be y'all's discussion.
I didn't want to just skip if there was.
All right, I just wanted to tee us up with a little bit of background for how we got here today. Starting in March of last year, CTAC members began requesting and reviewing the committee's bylaws, and there were questions about the purpose of the committee and really what the items were that they were supposed to be working on. Even though these conversations sort of renewed in March 2025, when staff went back and did some research and looked in our historical files, there have been multiple iterations of CTAC discussions in the past as well that always kind of seem to come back up after every few years. And so I put a couple dates up on this slide just to show the progression of how the conversations have gone, how the meetings have gone, the things that we've covered over time. Staff have done a lot of peer benchmarking, looking around to see what other MPOs have done, looking to see what CTAC has done in the past, and trying to explore what a future and things that the committee works on in the future could look like. And so the action item for today is for you all to have a discussion and determine what the most effective path forward will be for the CTAC committee. And we do have, I believe, Chair Sarah Medley is on the call today, and there's also a CTAC member that's seated over here in the room as well. I'll pass it over to you now.
Yep, and I know Mr. Condor is on CTAC. He was online. I don't know if he's remained or not. And I'll just frame it that it sounds like both the vice chair and I, through both the county and the city, from members, not that it necessarily affected every CTAC member's view, but there were concerns that started to bubble up that really focused in on the purpose of CTAC. There were, of course, concerns also as to process and what the expectations and meeting expectations. But at the end of the day, the purpose was there. Natalie and I met with the chair and vice chair of CTAC over the summer. I know that CTAC had a very good conversation in November relative to this. And then myself and Natalie joined CTAC in January. And listened to another very good discussion. And then that leads us here today. Without trying to be overly general or condensing it down, and invite the chair of CTAC to weigh in. Natalie obviously will weigh in about where we're at. But in my mind, it's come down to we've got really good people on CTAC who want to do really good things. That's not in question. But the purpose that is driven by the policy board of what they should be doing has become unclear and very cloudy. I think you could have conversations about process and how process could be tightened up, how expectations and performance levels could be met. But if the purpose, the committee's purpose driven by the policy board is unclear, everything else is really doesn't matter. So that has come down to what it would be. I think there's a lot of want for advocacy and to have input and concern at right points on different transportation and transportation related projects, which I don't fault them for. I would too if I were there. But it's become whether or not the MPO board and the CTAC advisory committee is the Citizens Transportation Advisory Committee is the right place to advance those. And if it is right to obligate MPO staff time from a budget perspective and what our charge is as a policy organization would be to meet those type of needs. So today it's the idea is to decide moving forward. Basic options are it can continue. If it continues, then we need to identify its clear and proper purpose. And then from there, we would clarify good process and expectations. I feel like purpose is on the board. Everything's on the board, but purpose is certainly on the board. Process is a staff board relationship, and then meeting expectations is a combo of everybody involved. We can disband the CTAC committee permanently. We could put a pause on CTAC and only use CTAC for the long-range transportation plan process. And there's other options, obviously. I mean, if we wanted to continue with CTAC, then this board, I think, has to step back and do a lot of work on purpose, defining what the clear purpose is and how it actually advises votes that come before this board and not ancillary or related things. In terms of, like, say, a transportation project that lives in the county, do you come to the MPO to advocate for that project or changes in that project? Because a lot of times the project design happened prior to it comes to the MPO. So where's the point of attack, if for lack of a better word, to do the advocacy? Natalie, did I miss anything? Anything there you would like to add?
No, that was a good summary of overall what's been happening. We've heard from CTAC members, current and former, about the desire to disband or the desire to stay, and that's kind of shifted a little bit over the last couple of months. It's ebbed and flowed. When we talked with staff, we asked for some background on how useful, because I haven't been here for a long range transportation plan year. How did the CTAC group interact during that year, and was it different than normal? And got the feedback that the same struggles still existed. What are the points of interaction, and do we have enough opportunities for engagement for CTAC? Are they getting out of it what they want as well? All of that continued during the long range transportation year. So that kind of missing the mark on what it's for, the purpose, is something that's present even in the year where there is theoretically the most activity. The one piece of commentary we got a lot of good commentary from CTAC members. One piece that stuck out was the potential use of having a consistent board of people to ask to reflect. So it's not just people coming to council or people coming to the board when it's, oh, this is immediately affecting me in my backyard, so I have an opinion, versus people who are consistently commenting on things as they come up. But again, at what point are those comments useful? By the time it gets to us, it's either baked into a VDOT project that has community engagement options already, or it's a city or county project where it's easier to direct commentary straight to the city or the county. We were discussing about how much effort the staff of TJPDC should put towards this as well, because if we decide to use CTAC as a focus group, it should be bigger and there's more engagement processes. When we got a rundown of CTAC, a comp set of CTAC from around the state, it's mostly a group of people that gets basically a summary of the presentations that are made at their MPO. So in effect, those folks could just be at the MPO meeting, except for Richmond, which was larger and comprised of specific appointments from different groups. So it was more of a focus group. But then how much staff resources do we want to put towards that? And if we decide to retool CTAC, it would be a year of kind of coming up with ideas and processing it through the policy board and CTAC and seeing what we want to do. That's basically all I have to add for a little more color commentary about the process we've been going through.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to invite, before we open it up to comments and discussion, and the chair of the CTAC committee. Can you take that, go ahead and remove that, and we can put the gallery view up, just so we can see folks. But I know Sarah is on. Sarah, do you have anything to add in addition to what we've done in terms of framing the conversation?
No, I think that was a really great overview of this past year of discussions. I'm in my car driving my kid to an appointment, or driving my kid home from an appointment. So this is, but I'm not driving. No, I'm sitting in a parking lot right now. Excuse me. This is a good overview of the past year of discussions. I do agree that everybody on CTAC wants to feel engaged in processes and as though we have a clear purpose, and that part has been missing. I appreciate Ms. Oshrin sharing the idea of like a sustained focus group, that the vice chair, Donna Chen, brought that idea up. And I thought that was a really great idea also, and could be an excellent purpose, but again, it would take a lot of retooling to build that into the system. But everything that was shared is exactly how I would have put it. So I don't need to repeat all of that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll start with questions, comments. Anne?
Thank you very much. I'm trying to set aside the previous 26 years because obviously I'm very attached to the old experience, which doesn't exist anymore because that was before internet and before all these engagement groups. And the main job was for CTEC people, chart people, was to be the voice into the community and gather information from the community. So I guess staff would really need to be the best recommender on when the occasions would be that extra help would be needed, because I don't have that answer. And the other thing that is a little curious is when someone, a constituent, for example, who's come numerous times to our meeting, Paul, I don't know if you're there or not, but it's hard to get to make a presentation or an idea to staff in the county level. So the idea that has come to my mind is that the MPO is a well advertised and people can come say, I have this great idea, and it could be referred back to the city or the county staff from us rather than having MPO staff have to deal with it, especially for these projects which are being planned in the locality. So that's really all I had to open with at the moment. But anything we can do to get more people informed and participating, that would make me happy. Thank you.
And just to respond to that, and I know that I've had just some brainstorming conversations with Taylor and Christine, and I don't know if, I can't remember if this is pre-agenda or sidebars. Regardless of what happens with CTAC, if people come to approach the NPO knocking on our door for where to go, we do recognize that the MPO, the TJPDC, should easily and can easily be set up to direct folks to the right place. So like, for example, if it's a project that's happening in Albemarle County, the TJPDC is often involved and informed about those and can easily suggest to somebody, here's the date, times of when that process, or contact people so that they can go there. And I think that is a kind of a undercurrent of what will be happening at this from the TJPDC standpoint, because that tends to happen with the other bodies, CARTA, Regionalizing Partnership, the commission itself. So I think that's a good point. But TJPDC is often the convener of information and then can push information out. Ms. Fleischer, you're the newest member, so ultimately we're going to do what you say. But do you have any questions or comments about where you're at, or any clarifying questions?
Yeah, and we've talked about CTAC in some other transportation minded groups, Charlottesville Area Alliance and RTP. So it's been on my mind as well. Sarah, I actually had a question for you. You don't have to go on camera. But what did you expect? Why did you join CTAC, and what did you expect when you joined, and how has that reconciled with what's really happened?
Thank you. I will leave my camera off, but yes, I joined CTEC because I was interested in learning more about area transit planning, and I thought this would be a good way to do that. And I wanted to advocate for more bike and pedestrian access into planning processes. I found that I did learn a lot about the regional transit planning that I didn't fully understand the purview, honestly, of the MPO before I joined CTAC. And so it was a little different than what I thought it would be, and more focused on these like larger transportation planning projects. And it's been an interesting experience in learning about how these decisions are made. But at the same time, as much as I would like to be able to have like a say or to have my voice heard in these, it hasn't felt like there was a good mechanism for CTAC to actually influence any policies or anything.
Thank you so much. That's super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That, with the engagement being taken care of a lot with the public participation plan and all of the, events and tabling that is already baked into this, the mechanism for advocacy was the piece that I was really wondering about. And that CTEC doesn't quite seem like the right fit for that. I'm not saying that there are other ones I can instantly refer to, but hearing Sarah's, response and kind of knowing that it's not leaving out engagement by kind of sunsetting CTAC. I think I'm leaning towards let's CTAC sunset and we can stay engaged with CTAC members for other opportunities / mechanisms to do that advocacy work and make an impact on transportation elsewhere. Yeah.
Well, I think your question, Ms. Medley, was an excellent one. Sir, would you like to chime in as well to that question that was just asked of your chair?
Yeah, okay, sure. I'm Pat Healy. I'm city representative, one of on CTAC. The chair, I think, did a wonderful job summarizing, and vice chair, I would use the term, purpose, of course, followed by structure is the way I think of it. But I think we're all on the same page. Vice chair then addressed some of the, I guess I'll call them problems with the current structure. And some of those may be mutable. Some of them are probably just part of the picture. You just got to deal with them. So, but to answer your question, I joined because I'm retired and I have a little time, and transportation is so important. Probably right after water, and whether or not we're going to be alive. The lights come on, the food in the stores and all the rest of it. Plus how we get around, and plus the quality of life in our city, where transportation, like a Venn diagram, overlaps with mobility. You can have great transportation. Nobody can step outside their doors. You don't have much of a city. So I joined that. The other thing is I'm kind of interested in how the sausage is being made, because you can't think about what's going on in public policy if you don't know what's going on in public policy. And part of the structure that I think is frustrating, but all of us on CTAC get, is that so much of it is out of our hands, particularly us, of course, because we're an advisory, but even members of council who control the purse. When the engineering comes down from VDOT, that's the way it's going to be. That's not your call. You can then say, well, we like the project, and we don't. We want to spend our money, or you don't. But there's a lot of things that just within the structure, we all just have to accept. So, but that can be frustrating. There are some things within this structure, I think, in terms of CTAC that could be changed to make us more valuable to you, and to help you understand us, whatever we bring forth. And I think some of those are just rearranging when we are brought in, when we're brought in. So, and I've gone over them all, but no, you're both right. And I wish you all the luck in the world.
Thank you, sir.
Forward.
Appreciate you coming today to listen and join in the conversation. Where I'm at as a policy board member, I'm not ready to disband the committee entirely. I think there can be a purpose for it connected to the long-range transportation plan. I just feel like the purpose, even though the general purpose is the same, the purpose tied to structure and expectations is what has morphed over the years, given the technology, internet, things like that. And we've never stopped and go, how does that change this committee as an advisory committee? So I feel as if it's time to if we were to pause where it's at now, knowing that the long-range transportation planning process is going to be back upon us by fall or next year.
Year 28.
The planning process, the actual process.
Which gives us, what was the year before? We had this year.
It's a 5-year plan. It was adopted in 2024.
Yeah. So it gets done during 2027 and approved in
It has to
2028.
be adopted by spring of 2029. So we would kick it off in spring of 2027.
Yes, which gives
Through
us a
fiscal
year
28 and
to
29. Yeah.
adjust.
It's about a 2-year planning process.
So I think behind the scenes, the work that the policy board would have to work with staff on is to look at our bylaws, revisit the purpose, the charge of the CTAC committee, clean that up, to be specific to the long-range transportation plan, and then figure out structure process to support what we feel like we want that advisory committee to do. Because it seems like it's more than just even advise and consent on the plan itself, because there were also points of folks that were pointing out, well, how they are actually advising on the engagement of how to engage more people, in addition to the content that's in the plan itself. So if we did that, we certainly have enough time to pull back, work on what a clear policy or a committee charge would be, and then start brainstorming with folks that are on the current part. We could pull them together as an advisory group to help us do, well, what would a good process structure look like in support of the transportation plan? And then implement that, and then put out the charge, put out the call for committee members as we close in at the right time for it to be ready to roll for the transportation process. I feel like that would be a good function and use of it. Realizing in the meantime, we can continue to track work and activity along that shows up on the policy board agenda to say, oh, well, we paused the CTAC committee, but this would have been a great time to have that advice, or, you know, have the advisory committee in place. So along the way, we could maybe discover and find other purposes for it. But I think that's at a minimum in my mind, what I would hope that the policy board, or I'm throwing out for consideration as a good plan moving forward. Of course, the other options are completely disband, or go past that and figure out and do policy bylaws work to still clarify the charge, but grow it beyond what the long-range transportation planning process would be. And I've been on this committee for 8 years. I've brainstormed that. I've had a hard time coming up with purposes beyond working on the long-range transportation plan. That's not to speak to comments that I've heard about access for citizens to be able to make presentation. I'm not undermining all of that, but from the work of the policy board and actual votes and actions we must take, I'm having a hard time justifying other purposes that are genuine based on our decisions versus us just doing it because we feel like it's a good thing to do. I'm not looking for hope fors or good things to do. It's going to add to staff time. We don't have the budget for that at this level. But that's where I'm at. I've talked a lot. What I'd like to do is just go to each policy board member and then ask what you think, or if you have different ideas, and we'll just see if we can arrive at a direction. Natalie, would you like to go
So
next?
ask questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have some now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just wondered, since I don't know if Sarah's still available, but you certainly are, sir. I wondered, between the scenarios that have been presented, is there a preference on the CTAC members' part in terms of those different scenarios, or is it none of the above and something else altogether?
And if I might, can I let the chair answer that,
Sure,
just since
yeah,
you're the chair of the
Sarah's on.
committee?
Sarah should do it.
Sarah, can you answer that question?
Yeah, I think that originally there was a lot of interest in maintaining CTAC, or even having it have a larger role with the MPO policy board, to have more active engagement with the community. And then as the process continued throughout the year, it sort of I think the idealism maybe started to slip away a little bit, and people realized that there wasn't a great mechanism, and maybe it would make sense to disband. So the last meeting was the first time that I had heard people share their, feelings that it might make the most sense to disband. I actually had a separate question, which was about so I serve as a non-voting member on this board, and the vice chair serves as a non-voting member on the technical committee. And I was wondering if having more citizen non-voting members in those two boards might be a bridge away from CTAC. So to have people sitting in those meetings, but not having a separate committee itself.
And just to clarify, I heard two committees, the technical committee and which?
This one.
Oh, this board.
Sorry, the policy board. Yeah, sorry.
Nope, got it. Thank you. And you may have comments on that as we go around, but I'm going to return to Julia since you had the original question. If you had others or follow up.
No, that's
Awesome.
I just wanted to hear from them.
Yeah, gotcha. I can just come with Natalie, any?
Yeah, before I talk about what I'm thinking, I do have a couple questions. The tech committee, I know that meeting is open to the public, but is there a public comment portion? Okay, so people can address the concerns on their agenda for at that time. Because the tech committee does get into the nitty-gritty more than we do here. So kind of I completely understand, and I've spoken with some people on TTAC who did think this was going to be a case of, oh, I can try and advocate for more bike ped in these larger projects. And that's why they wanted to be on the team, or maybe they do have some design background and want to comment on specifics. But as you said, it kind of it's a little baked by the time it gets to us. And then we have in the city, we have our bike ped advisory committee where those projects kind of can work. But I do hear a kind of a desire to be able to have a forum to share ideas that the citizens, residents would like to suggest to decision makers specifically about transportation projects. That's not just going to a random councilor board meeting and saying, what if we did this, but an actual specific dedicated place for that. And I'm wondering if that might be some kind of like community forum work session engagement thing that maybe is like a quarterly meeting that's not a board of citizen reps, resident reps, but some kind of, I don't mean to be an idealistic political wonk, but kind of like big ball of cheese day on the West Wing, where you invite people.
Andrew Jackson. Go ahead.
You invite people to have a time where it's like, hey, specifically like transit open or transportation open house suggestion box, interact with staff, interact with not just our staff, but TJPDC. I don't know.
But that I've been part of the long range transportation project as a community member, and that is when that stuff happens so much. I mean, I must have attended like 10 meetings where I got to be like, look, I want flying bicycles. And, like you really got to, I found like I really got to get into it at all different levels, safety, design, all during that process. Am I making that up? That was that stuff, right?
Yeah. The engagement meetings that we got the note that is not a responsibility of CTAC to attend those.
You attended as a community.
I just attended because
you were allowed of different opportunities for engagement from the public outside of a formalized committee.
Yeah. It's, and that, the voices that came to that were really diverse and, came from drivers, bike ped, et cetera, all different angles. And it had more of kind of what Sarah was envisioning when she signed up for this, which was I could advocate without like no holds barred on what I thought was a good idea. And it was considered as part of the design of a few of the things that I had gone to. So
that's kind of already happening.
Hopefully that will be baked in again to the next plan, because it seemed more meaningful than the 3 minutes of these meetings where it's open look, no one makes date night out of, coming to MPO. So it's, it's like, so it's hard to get a real sense of like what a lot of community matters, we're lucky to hear the voices we did tonight, but I've definitely been to multiple meetings where no one speaks in those 3 minutes. So I agree. I'd love more is more, like, being together with the MPO, and we have, fireside chats where we get to hear on specific topics. But because it was so baked in, and I'm assuming, and I'm being reassured that it will be again, I think it's already covered.
Yeah. Then if that's the case, I'm trying to like figure out a balance where I don't really, I can see, I am on board with both of you in a sense that the current CTAC mission purpose is not meeting the needs of the members nor the MPO. So disbanding makes a lot of sense. It saves staff a lot of time. And then I can understand the desire to see if there is a purpose, because it hasn't been updated since the internet. But I also don't want to have staff spend forever on figuring that out. And so I'm wondering if there is a happy medium there where we ask staff to spend like X number of time. Is there something you could see this being useful for? And then if there's not, we don't try and force it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for staff on that, but that, when I was saying, like, I struggled to find a purpose outside of long-range transportation plan based on the votes we take, that's what I could not come up with in my brain.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not interested in the content and the feedback and even the advocacy that's coming, like you said, the flying bicycles of the transportation piece. So I'm trying to own that responsibility of how does that get met, that need that I'm hearing? But the answer in my brain is not through the MPO. I got to figure out how to meet that need in some other capacity and not meet that for the city, just in how we could do it in the county. And I've got ideas on that, but I don't know how to do it through the MPO.
Can I add something?
Yeah, one more thing. Like, does that mean instead maybe we appoint CTAC people, but then their responsibility is to show up to the community engagement sessions that the long range, I'm not gonna get the acronym right, long range transportation plan year hosts, and then that's what CTAC is for.
Well, I think that by the pullback, what I'm saying is that I think, to Ann's point, trying to forget 25 or 26 years of how it's existed, that we take the next year and go, we know how we're doing these now in terms of engagement and what that leads to. Is there a clear purpose of how an advisory committee can help execute that, both from study or help with the engagement and then the actual content that exists in the plan? So I don't know that I have to come up with that answer tonight, but if that's how we proceeded, those would be the questions that I would be asking. What's the new 2026 way of doing a citizen transportation advisory committee that falls in line with how we've been doing these for the last 6, 7, 8 years? With all the engagement already put into it. I don't know if that even approached your.
No,
what you were
it's
searching
yeah,
for.
you're like, let's give it a try before we give up, is basically.
For the specific
suggestion.
transportation plan,
Yeah.
Because I even think that, like to your point about having that time to put input in at the transportation plan, and even if they accepted it, my worry, frankly, is I know what the long-range transportation plan's purpose is. It's similar to the modeling data that we just used. It's big picture. So if it's a great idea and you as a citizen came and advocated it for it, everyone included it and it got into the plan, you're thinking it's going to happen. Well, because it's in the long-range transportation plan doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. And I don't like that kind of endorsement, if you would, because it would still take you going to the actual place of where that particular project originates. And then you say, they decided to include this in the long-range transportation as part of the giving it some weight, et cetera. But it doesn't guarantee that all of a sudden that's going to turn into a policy, a practice, approach, or a project. So I heard you say bingo. Did I steal your thunder?
No, it wasn't thunder. It's just like you're right. It feeds from the counties up, right? And I mean, in other places I've worked, in other localities, they've had infrastructure committees, transportation committees at the local level where that citizen advisory piece was taken there. And then it informed the members that were on the MPO. It rolled up is how it did, instead of, because I don't know how, you don't have any control over a whole lot of this stuff. You're a body that will vote on adding a project and submitting an application. But ultimately, in order to do that, you have to still have support from the counties. Like, it starts in the counties.
Yeah, Ned, I think what you're talking about is more of like changing the A of CTAC to accountability. So they could be an accountability board that, you know, follows up with all of the local advisory and advocacy boards to make sure that MPO is happening on the ground. But I don't know that MPO needs an accountability group.
Yeah, I mean, I always use Mr. Condor as an example. Like, he lives in my district. He's on one of the Rio 29 Community Advisory Committee. So, and he stepped off, but if he didn't have the CTAC, he knows, because I've seen him use the other points in the county that are county specific. And he uses both direct communication with Sean and his team, with me as a supervisor. Since he's a member of these different committees, he has access to staff, et cetera. So he's figured out where he can have some input. He's not to satisfy a request of like a 20-minute presentation from a citizen to a body that represents. Lee wasn't doing that, but at least he had the microphone and the chance to speak to it because he was a member of those committees. So, you know, I think it's up to the county and the city to figure out how you provide venue and audience for this sort of request, whether it's, you know, the times are relevant, but a citizen to come forward where 3 minutes isn't going to get it done. Some boards don't even invite, like we allow people to put up PowerPoints and things like that if they need to support their 3 minutes, but the time limit is still the same. But not all bodies and boards do that either. But that's not, like, that's me brainstorming as outside of what of this venue is. And like I said, I didn't hear anything talking to CTAC members where none of them were looking for wishful or hopeful stuff. They didn't want to do it just to do it, or to do it for hope's sake, or, you know, I guess as an elected, sometimes we make decisions. I guess you could be pressured in, or not pressured, influenced to make a decision because it feels like the right thing to do, versus, is this really going to serve its function and purpose that it really validates and justifies spending staff time, which is tax dollars, on it to make it, to execute it. And like I said, those folks, I heard it in both the November meeting when I listened to it and the meeting I was with. I mean, I know a lot of the names and faces around that room. These are not folks that are looking to get together to just spend time with one another. I mean, they like each other just fine, but these are people that put their time and energy on places where they can get stuff done. And I think that was the originating frustration. It was like, are we getting anything done? So, boy, if they get cut loose and go to the other places, I feel a responsibility to help them find the right pressure points. But that's Ned, an individual elected, saying that, not an MPO policy board member trying to satisfy that. And
thank you. I really appreciate all of the sort of articulation of where I've been floundering around on this. And I especially appreciate the sort of county infrastructure committee. Even if it starts out as a workshop and we find out how many people show up. I mean, getting people in the room to talk about something would be, I think, a really great experiment. And hopefully we have these people who have been involved and they will stay, you know, on a list and help us to generate those kinds of actions. So I would be in favor of keeping things alive and evolving as opposed to disbanding things and seeing how it goes. I really like that approach. Thank you.
All right, I'll come back to Natalie. You were kind of in the middle there a little bit.
Anything you want to change? Are you still?
No, I'm still for
participating?
fine sunsetting and, I mean, can we always stand it back up sometime if you?
Well,
what's
that is
word?
the other option. We certainly framed it as these three options in order to make sure that we could structure a conversation. But it could also be that this isn't a formalized committee in the bylaws with a charge. It is an ad hoc committee during the long-range transportation plan that has a charge to help determine what the engagement will be with the community. That isn't necessarily weighing in on all the details of the plan, but helps set the vision for what the engagement should look like. That's one option. But we could stand up an ad hoc to serve a purpose that is different than than having an ongoing with bylaws charge set, and then it has to always meet that charge. I mean, you guys have a lot of flexibility here.
I'd like us to leverage that and let it take pause now and direct everyone to places where their advocacy and voice can serve both the committee they're speaking with and the committee itself, and think about what that would look like in this runway we have towards the long range plan about standing up ad hoc and how to advertise for those roles and how to best use them. So we're feeding two birds with one stone on that.
And so if I'm hearing what you said, right, I didn't really think of it that way. But even if we wanted to use it for the long range transportation plan, you're saying we do it and through the ad hoc committee structure. Yeah, I like that.
That you could disband CTEC as it is, and you could stand up a temporary committee to serve whatever purpose you need. If you need citizen advisory on something that you're gonna be making.
It would be a public engagement advisory board, not a
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be.
Public engagement advisory board for the long range transportation plan.
Wow.
Big t-shirts. Sarah gets the first one.
T-shirts.
Because I really appreciate the advocacy that this group wants to do, especially since, I mean, it's not just Sarah, but there's other people on there who are there because they thought it would be a good place to do bike and ped advocacy. But if that takes them, if this hour, everyone, or a couple hours every once in a while is taking them away from other projects that they could be advocating
Highest and best
for,
use.
right, then they're in this meeting grinding their gears instead of going to BPAC or instead of coming up with a commentary for council. Well, I want to make sure it's getting directed in the right way. And I am struggling to see outside of a public engagement advisory board what could be useful for LRPT and for MPO. If we already have the community outreach meetings, if we already have public commentary options for every project that comes to us.
Yeah, I think that's why, like, given that the transportation plan doesn't kick in for a while, it gives us time to think about that. But also through the ad hoc structure, what I'm hearing is something pops up and we're like, oh, this would be great to have it. Then we can just call the committee and get going.
Advertise to get volunteers or rely on you all to appoint, like however you all want to direct that.
Right, so would it be, okay, everybody is on this committee, but just wait for our call instead of meet regularly?
You'd call for committee membership at that point. If you stand
Or
up the ad
just-
hoc, then you'd say, we're setting this committee up, we're taking up, you publicize it, the applications come in and we select.
This is how often you'll meet. These are the things that you'll be making, just or recommendations.
This
onto the
board, it
policy.
would probably mean the county would appoint some, the city would appoint some, TJPDC would appoint some.
I'm interested in that.
All right, well, I'm hearing that we've landed in where all the circles have combined. So the ad hoc committee structure, because that satisfies what I was thinking about. I do think we need to look at the bylaws just to clean up, but that's a bylaws thing. I don't
I
think
would
that
even
takes a lot.
say a formal action on disbanding CTEC as it is. And then spend the next year, the runway, developing what you want this ad hoc for. And developing the structure for the ad hoc.
Okay.
Rather than taking what we already have and trying to make it into something else. We, that's a staff recommendation. Certainly that's y'all's decision what you want to do.
No, I like that.
But I like tracking, like, oh, we could have used that tracking piece over time will help us make that decision, I think.
Very good. I think this is based on some of the angst that I was hearing. The change in energy from the fall to the recent meeting. I feel like this is a happy kind of go forward because it's not a just disband and leave it behind us. continue to figure out how to make it work and hope some of these folks would be energized to want to rejoin based on the new charge, what the purpose is, the structure, good structure.
With the realistic caveat that it's also possible that there is not going to be a need. And we don't need to create an opportunity to meet if there isn't going to be a purpose for it. But we can try and look and see what and if there is.
Yeah, agree. And then I know, because our role as electeds as conveners is to still help with other, to find those pathways to get them to the pressure points for our own respective legislative bodies to be able to do what they're hoping or asking to do that they thought CTEC was a venue for.
That'd be good liaisons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our role.
All right, well, I think we've arrived. Is there, so just repeat what you said, Christine.
Motion to do whatever.
I would recommend a motion to sunset or disband the Citizens Transportation Advisory Committee as it is currently structured. And then use the next year to develop, is there a way that we need an ad hoc committee to advise on developing the long-range transportation plan? And formalize a structure for that if it's determined that that's needed.
Yep, and I think the official motion can just be to disband CTAC as it is, because then the next piece is really staff direction on the next step. So I think we need a motion to disband the CTAC committee as it currently operates.
So
moved.
All right, I got so moved at the same time, so.
Anne can move it and I'll second it.
All right, we got a motion made by Ann and a second by Jen. Is there any further discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No, what's the word? Nays, any nays? Been sharing meetings for how long? I forgot what to say. Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Figured that, thank you. That's what we got a call for that. All right, I also want to just state, and I'm happy to have others make comment if you want. But for the members of CTAC, Ms. Medley, your vice chair, all the members that have been there, we really appreciate all the time and effort you have put in. And I feel like we've taken the right time and had the right conversations and discussions to arrive at this decision today. And we hope that as we work over this next year, I suspect we'll be reaching out for comment, input, feedback on some of the things we were thinking about, that you will be willing to share those thoughts and ideas with us to see what maybe the next rendition will be. And then I will follow up with folks that I feel like are county specific relative to finding places where advocacy go or to help with that effort directly. I know Ann will do the same when she, as needed. Chair Medley, I would like to just give you an opportunity. You don't have to, but if you feel like you would like to make any comments, I'd invite you to do so.
Yeah, I would say that the only outcome that I didn't want to happen was for CTEC to continue without a well-defined charge. So I think this is really satisfactory. I think the idea of the ad hoc committees is a good one if that turns out to be useful. And like I heard, like nobody on CTEC wanted to feel like we were just spinning our wheels and sort of fulfilling the space that wasn't necessary. We all wanted to be working. So I think likely I would be interested in following up if you had any need for comment or input later on. And I think anybody else from CTEC would also.
We'll save that mailing list.
Yes.
I would like to just add a note that one of the biggest problems with CTEC as it existed prior to 30 seconds ago was the disjoint between matching needs and matching expectations. And so I hope that that is kind of the central goal of whatever committees we move forward, so that it's very clear to the people who would like to join and like to help that they are joining a committee that they'll be useful on and that meets their needs, so that there is not that mismatch, and that gives us the chance to make those committees more flexible to what our needs are as well, and specific. Specificity and expectation management will be the name of the game.
Great. Any other final comments?
Just thank you and best of luck, as I said before. And I'll probably just send an email comment.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going.
I'll just add in
Yep.
to thank everybody who has worked on this committee for the many decades. And we're not done by any means. And so please be thinking of ways that items that you want to continue to advocate about, you know how to find us. And so we'll keep these discussions going and, don't go way too far. Thank you very much.
All right, I have not done a good job chairing. We've got behind, so I'm going to look to Taylor. Is item D one that we just need to give quick items on? It's not an action item.
No, yes, it's just informational purposes, so I can breeze through the slides pretty quickly. All right, well, it is that time again to start talking about fiscal year 27 and the MPO's work plan. So just a little background, our Unified Planning Work Program, or the UPWP, is basically the MPO's work plan for transportation planning activities to be conducted with federal funds. Federal law requires that we incorporate and address 10 specific planning factors. Those are on the screen here. The ones in blue are specifically framework factors that came from our LRTP that we wanted to make sure were captured in our UPWP. 2 federal agencies fund the MPO, and that is Federal Highway Administration. Those are PL or planning funds. Those come through VDOT, and the Federal Transit Administration on the transit side, those come through DRPT. VDOT also receives state planning funds, or SPR, from FHWA that basically pays for the support that they give us alongside the activities that we do. So everything on this table is draft. These are the values that were from last year for the MPO's budget. We have not received updated budget numbers yet, so I just left these in here just to give you all a sense of scale for the MPO's budget. And so down in the bottom corner, that $700,000 value, that is inclusive of the VDOT SPR funds. But what's actually in the MPO's control is 2 lines above where it says 481,000 and change. That's what's within our control for the UPWP. This budget captures staff time. It also captures professional development. If we need any equipment replacements like computers, that's also captured in here. So it's more than just staff time that goes into this. The UPWP is broken out by 3 tasks. So program administration, that is typically any reporting that we have to do, compliance with regulations, invoicing, printing, things like that fall in the admin category. For long-range transportation planning, that is a task that captures any long-range planning. So if it's an LRTP year, typically that bucket is a lot bigger. We also have been doing work for our model in there, work for the safety action plan also fell in there. But because we are not yet in another LRTP year, we still recommend keeping the same splits that we did in the last fiscal year, since we'll be doing more short-range planning and technical assistance with our member jurisdictions. So a couple highlights, I'll breeze through these pretty fast. So in fiscal year 26, we completed the comprehensive safety action plan for the region, Move Safely Blue Ridge. So that also included the MPO jurisdictions in that. We also completed the first full year of the Regional Transit Authority, or CARTA. And so that transition happened with the RTP this year. You all just adopted safety performance targets. There are a number of things that are in progress. So we recognize it's February. We've still got a couple more months in the fiscal year to finish some work up. So we're working on a comprehensive update of our tips right now. We're working on smart scale, and also the travel demand model will be something that's completed this fiscal year. We also submitted a lot of federal grant applications. So Safe Streets and Roads for All, we submitted that one. We also just submitted a build grant application, and then also state applications for other programs here at the TJPDC. And then of course we participate with VDOT on any STARS and project pipeline studies. All right, so for the fiscal year 27 UPWP, of course, there will be ongoing and continued activities that we will keep doing next fiscal year. So participating in those studies, committee administration, annual adoption of the safety targets. We will also roll over work on our TDM study that staff are working on right now. So that will remain in the fiscal year 27 UPWP. And then of course, if any discretionary grant applications come up, we will apply for those. As far as new things that are captured in the UPWP, you'll notice that it does not include work for setting up this LRTP engagement framework that we just talked about. So that'll be in the final draft that you all see. But the first thing that's in there is work on best practices and benchmarking. And so that would be incorporated into all three of those task buckets that you all saw earlier. And that would be staff going out and reviewing policies, performance measures, implementation strategies to really look around and understand what does it mean to have a world-class MPO? What are our peers doing? Do any of our policies need to be updated? The bylaws haven't been updated in a really long time. Just doing that on the ground work to look around and make sure that our MPO is in line with others in the state. Next, doing some geospatial mapping is an activity that we included in here. So we'll have a brand new tip document. So staff would go and make that interactive mapping data that was available online. So we have a lot of data that we have access to right now, and looking at how we can better communicate and actually show the community, what it is that we're working on. And so we do that for both the LRTP and the new tip. And finally, the last item that's captured in here is bicycle and pedestrian counting. So basically investigating the feasibility of starting up a bike and pedestrian count program here at the MPO. That's something that we've heard articulated from both city and county staff as something that would be valuable for them, a gap that they're trying to fill. And so really taking time to workshop to think through what are some good locations to pilot something like this, what's the right type of equipment to get, and how would we be able to set that program up. So as far as next steps, today this came before you as informational. So at your next meeting, it will be a voting item for approval. We will also work with VDOT and all of our federal contacts as well to make sure they're reviewing it and if they have any comments on the document as well. And hopefully at your next meeting, we will have actual budget numbers for fiscal year 27. And then of course, we will do public notice as well to receive public comment on this document. So I know that was really, really quick, but any questions?
I would say in the interest of time, if policy board members could direct questions to Taylor electronically, and then if you wouldn't mind replying all back with those questions so that we can move along in the agenda, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is staff updates. Taylor, is there staff reports here that need to be done out loud?
No, we included a written update.
All right.
For the sake of time.
Thank you. I don't want to shortchange the VDOT project updates because a lot of times that's useful information to take back to our boards and for the public to hear. So we'll move to item 6, the VDOT updates on projects. Sandy, are you taking the lead on this one?
Yes. Are you able to pull up that one slide?
I can.
We are not going to go into detail on these projects because there's going to be a special meeting next month. We'll talk about this in more detail. There are a couple of things that I just want to bring to your attention as changes that have occurred since we talked to this before. The first one is that after having some conversations with Albemarle County about the 2 roundabouts on US 250 that were recommended as part of the pipeline study that was completed 2 cycles ago or 1 cycle ago previously. We were initially talking about doing one project that would be a roundabout at US 250 in the Canterbury Road intersection, and then a second roundabout at Canterbury Road or at the Boar's Head Road intersection. After some discussions about how those 2 projects would interrelate, we have landed on the direction that we will be submitting Canterbury Road as a single roundabout project, and then combining the Canterbury Road and Boar's Head projects together into a roundabout bundle. So those 2 projects would be combined. So it would be one project that's just the single roundabout and another project that's like a corridor that includes both roundabouts, access management in between, and the shared use path that could potentially be a connection to the 3-notch trail. So we'll be able to go through that in more detail at the next meeting. The other thing that we just wanted to briefly provide an update on is the US 29 southbound at I-64 exit 118. This is a current pipeline study. As was mentioned previously, the concept is still to be determined. And Sean, did you want to talk about where we are with that project?
Yeah, we're half-baked. So there's no need for us to spend a whole lot of resources trying to get to a solution for this round of smart scale instead of taking a step back to figure out what is ultimately needed. We've studied this thing a million times. What was presented to the public was probably not there. Like you've mentioned before, Ned, it's like a little small project that really is not solving the issue. So I think we need to take a step back, figure out ultimately what is needed there for this interchange and the 29 corridor as a whole. to come up with a solution that we may not be able to fund through smart scale. But for us to at least have a discussion about ultimately what this interchange in that corridor needs.
Yeah.
So those are the updates on the projects. Otherwise, everything is moving forward. We're feeling good about where everything is in terms of being prepared for the pre-application period and the application period for smart scale, and the pre-applications open next week. Any other questions?
All right, any questions for Sandy? I can't
Actually,
see.
quickly, just to clarify, and I know we'll get into this later, but so the 250 Canterbury Road roundabout and then the Canterbury Boar's Head bundle are being proposed
as 2 applications by Albemarle County.
So is that in case one of them doesn't?
Well, ultimately, the best case scenario for this project would be for both of those roundabouts to be done simultaneously, because then you can close the access. And if you're familiar with this area, there are lots of businesses that are right at Canterbury in the westbound direction. And so the best case scenario would be to be able to close the access and be able to direct anybody that would have been making left turns to one of the roundabouts to provide the access to those. There just aren't a lot of needs. Albemarle County staff brought this up and decided to move in this direction. There aren't a lot of needs at the Boar's Head roundabout itself. The real benefit of the Boar's Head roundabout is to try to improve the operations at Canterbury Road.
So this is strategy.
Because one roundabout needs another to have good flow.
But you don't want to not potentially get
The
Canterbury.
So you're applying for Canterbury and you're like, and it'd be nice if we could do Boar's Head with it too, please? Is that kind of the idea?
Basically.
Okay.
2 different applications.
The other thing that I will very briefly mention is that in the February CTB meeting, they introduced the idea of potentially adding innovative intersections as an eligible project type to the high priority projects program, which means that if that is approved in March at the CTB meeting, these roundabout projects onto US 250 would potentially be eligible to compete for the high priority project funding.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Did Ann have her, I can't see Ann. Did she have her hand up?
I don't see any hands raised.
All right.
I did not have my hand up, but I'm following along. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you all.
All right, and did Chuck have any updates here that we needed to do?
Do you have any updates, Chuck?
Oh, I see stars and pipelines. That was here.
Yeah.
Or well, you have pipeline study on there.
Yeah, I think Sandy's covered it all.
All right, so we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we can do a quick round of roundtable updates is where we are at next. I might need help to catch. I don't have my list of people. So if I'll go online first. Sarah, we there. No, is Pat?
That is a consultant. Pat Coleman.
So I don't need an update from Pat. Garland, do you have a roundtable update, Mr. Williams?
I do. A quick one. It's been almost 2 years that we've started on this transition for alternative fuel vehicles. Actually, February of 24, so time has flown by. For the transit side of the house, 2 vehicles have been procured. They should be here late May, early June. We've gotten the charging infrastructure, most of it is in-house now. The mobile charging units to make sure that the BEV vehicles can be charged while they're being worked on in the maintenance bays have come. And when they say mobile, they're not little small items. They're pretty big. You have to use a forklift to move them, but they're in, and the charging dispensing equipment is here. We've got an update from VDOT. Not from VDOT, sorry, from Dominion. We're hoping that they will start their work late April, early May. So we'll be ready when the vehicles get here. So that's our update.
Awesome. Thank you, Garland. Mr. Crispy from John?
Just, been working on new brand concept, new colors and logos, so that's coming, and we are rolling out mobility on demand demo software for ADA paratransit, City of Charlottesville in April, early April, late March, as well as for Greene County. So those are just quick updates.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And well, you'll get your chance in public comment. Any, Jessica and or, do we have, Tanya, any, sorry, Tanya.
That's okay. I'll let Jessica introduce herself. I'm Jessica Dimick. I'm the new principal transportation planner for Albemarle County. I'm taking Jessica Hirsch-Ballering's position, so.
Thank God you had that name tag.
I'll give a couple of updates. At the county, we're starting to think about development of the countywide multimodal transportation plan as part of AC 44 implementation. We are planning to go to the County Board of Supervisors tentatively April 1st to discuss the process and board direction for that. And we're working with VDOT on the smart scale applications, pipeline studies, STAR studies, and starting to think about some revenue sharing applications for the next round.
Great, thank you. And you were good with this? No? All right, City of Charlottesville.
All right, I've got a few updates. West Main and Ridge was a project that was touched on a little earlier. We're going to be going before council for a project update March 16th with that. And then doing some additional engagement with downtown businesses and residents in April, still TBD when and where that's happening. And looking for a smart scale endorsement, application endorsement from council in July. Rose Hill, we are kicking off a restriping project on March 10th, which will include a walk in the neighborhood. We're looking to come to council on June 15th with the conceptual design of how we would change that corridor, basically from Preston to Rugby Ave, which means we'll also need to get in contact with some folks at the county to figure out what to do with those schools that are sort of in the middle of that corridor. So more to come on that. Neighborhood walk this upcoming month is March 8th in the Meadows at 10 a.m. at Best Buy. This is a neighborhood that's right there on the city-county border, and we will be looking at some projects that we have done together, including the District Avenue roundabout location and the US 29 pedestrian bridge. We will be kicking off an onboard survey for CAT in March. That's mostly led by UVA grad students who will be wearing t-shirts and out on our buses for a few weeks, asking people where they're coming from and going to, so that we can understand travel patterns and transfer patterns in our system. Still working through our e-bike voucher program. We had 36 vouchers awarded in Q1. Signups for the next one is April 1st. And the only reason I mention it is we're getting a lot of signups from county residents. So we might want to collaborate on how we can expand our program a little bit to include y'all. Much like Jessica covered for the county, we're also scoping a citywide mobility plan. We're developing an existing conditions assessment, sort of looking at our comp plan and how we've performed against it right now. We're looking at updating planning commission on March 24th, and then we're going to have some engagement around figuring out what the priority topics around for the scope for the mobility plan. That'll be in May, and we'll include feedback, public survey, as well as an update to planning commission. And last, I'll be doing a much longer version of this ramble, doing an annual update on transportation planning for council on June 1st. So busy spring for me.
Great. Did I miss anything? All right, Sean, any?
Yeah, real quick, 240-250 roundabout project. We're targeting, hopefully getting that open in the next couple of weeks. We're just waiting on some signage to open that roundabout and lift the detour for 680. So we'll check that one off out of that bundle. The Ryle John Warner Parkway project, we're working through a few issues right now and looking to officially start construction of that in the next coming weeks. The exit 107 park and ride lot, we received bids on that. Caden Construction was a successful bidder, so we're hoping to start construction on that this spring/summer. The next project out to shoot for advertisement is the 5th Street and Hub Trail project. So we're hoping to go to advertise for that for the summer. And we're continuing to stress the need for regional coordination while we've got all these projects on the street for construction. So we're putting together a group of folks from all areas to sit and kind of meet on a routine basis to talk about coordination while these projects are under construction.
Great. Awesome. You getting questions about the roundabout? So, cool. Did I miss any? I think I already did that. I call anybody? Nobody? Good. All right. Back to additional matters from the public. Any additional matters from the public?
Yeah.
You can do it from here if you'd like. You've got 3 minutes.
Okay. Paul Grady. I want the chart committee back. And was the chairman. And in 1999, 2000, I made 10 presentations to that committee. And one of my ideas actually made it into the 2025 long range transportation plan. So I really think you should have a committee where the public can make a presentation that's longer than 3 minutes and have some feedback from it, from the committee. I mean, you know, making a presentation here, 3 minutes, and you don't talk, you don't ask questions, you don't, you know, it's very frustrating. And I've got 5 or 6 more ideas that I'd like to present. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Any other additional comments? Peter's not looking in, so I don't think Peter's going to do a round 2. Got it. All right. Thank you for for all the remarks earlier and now for public. And that being said, our next meeting is our special meeting. It's the Smart Scale Workshop on March 20 at 3 p.m. And do we have a location on that, or is that virtual?
No location yet, but we'll be in person.
We'll be in person.
Yes.
With Friday together.
Kick off the weekend night.
Pull back the date night piece. Go ahead with your question.
Quick question for Taylor, since we, the staff report, we're skipping reading that aloud. When everything is presented in text, it's hard to know if there's any emphasis. Anything in particular you want us to call out or note is a highlight?
So, items of note, I would definitely say we have submitted grant applications as of February 1 for some of the core TJTDC programs like rideshare, our PATH program, which is our mobility management program. That grant application went in, and we should hear back. Usually a draft budget from DRPT and VDOT comes out around April, and then they vote on it in June. So that's when we will hear back about those. We also submitted yesterday the application for the build grant for the Rivanna River Bicycle Pedestrian Bridge. So that went in. I think those are the 2 largest ones. There was also included in your package, should anyone be interested, we did not receive the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant that we applied for last June, but we did attend a debrief meeting and we included some notes in your packet if you're curious to hear about the feedback that they had from that.
Great, thank you.
And then not in that staff report, but based on the results of this meeting, will be prepared in your next regularly scheduled meeting, not the Smart Scale Workshop, but the next one with a red line version of your bylaws related to CTAC and making sure that there's inclusion of language on standing up ad hoc committees as requested. Cool.
Great. Any other items? Appreciate y'all's patience as I zoomed through the last 20 minutes.
No worries.
All right, then the special meeting was March 20. The next regular meeting is April 22nd. That will be a virtual meeting as noted on the agenda. All right, so without objection, then we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Picture to my side.
Can we work into the bylaws that you can't show any members